The only 5 exercises you need to bulk now. What does bulk actually mean? Does that mean you're going to be adding a lot of muscle and fat? No, you want to put on lean muscle mass. These exercises are designed to put on only lean muscle mass. Why is that important? Well, as we get older, we get a little something called sarcopenia. So what is sarcopenia? Well, what it is a fancy word for muscle wasting. Here's a fact. Somewhere between your 35th birthday and your 80th birthday, you can lose half of your muscle mass. Most doctors will tell you there's nothing you can do about this, but there is. If you exercise, in particular, if you do weightlifting, you can hang on to a lot of that muscle mass. Now, sarcopenia is still going to happen, but not at the same rate. And this is good news. So, when it comes to exercise, what should you do? Well, you want to do compound movements, and I'll explain what that is in a second. You definitely want to stay until the very end because I didn't give you 5 exercises. I snuck number 6 in there, and you're going to really want to know what that one is. So a few seconds ago, I mentioned a really fancy word, compound movements, compound exercises. What does it mean? It means you're moving multiple joints while you're exercising. I'm going to give an example of a non-compound movement, a bicep curl. When you do a bicep curl, you move one joint, the elbow. That's not a compound movement. If you did something like a pull-up, you're now moving your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder joint. Even your scapula comes into play. Number 1, the bench press. What does it work? Well, the major muscle that works would be the pecs or the chest muscles. But you're also working your triceps and you're working your deltoids. You're working your shoulders. It's a compound exercise because you're moving multiple joints. Obviously your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. And you're working a large group of muscles, the chest muscles. I love using free weights. And as a matter of fact, when I teach people how to lift weights, I teach free weights. But there are a lot of large gyms in the country now, national chains that won't use barbells for whatever reason. They still have dumbbells, but the barbells are missing from these gyms. In the video, I'm going to show 2 different ways to do the same exercise. Your gym may have something called a Smith machine, which is a reasonable facsimile to doing free weights. Now, there are pluses and minuses. The pluses to using free weight is that you have to use a little extra muscle to control it because it's free weight. With the Smith machine, the machine controls the bar, but you get to go to failure. That's something that you really can't do on the bench press unless you have a weightlifting partner. There are pluses and minuses to both, and actually, when I work out, I will use one or the other every other time. Number 2, shoulder press. You've seen it. You can do the old military style. Just grab a barbell and shove the weight straight over your head. Not that difficult. But what is it working? Well, it's working the deltoids, which you also did when you were doing the bench press, but you also have the trapezoidus mixed in there. And a lot of the muscles in your upper back are stabilizers, so you're working those. But wait, there's even more. You're also working the pectoralis minor, so you can get that fullness in the top of your chest. So the shoulder press is a great exercise. Again, just like with the bench press, it's an exercise where if your gym does not have a barbell, you can always go right over to the good old-fashioned Smith machine. You may notice I'm showing videos here of all 3 types that you can do. Well, there are actually a lot more than 3, but the 3 we're showing here is the free weight. I'm showing it on the Smith machine, but the Smith machine at your gym may be busy. There's also a shoulder press machine. Usually they're a seated shoulder press, and that's what we did here today. So all 3 of those will give you the same result. Number 3, lats or lat pulls. What are lat pulls? What is that? What does it work? What does it even mean? Lat is short for latissimus dorsi. That's why we just changed it to lat. What is it? When you look at bodybuilders, so back in the old days, you would see Johnny Weissmuller. They had these wings coming out from underneath their armpits. It's these muscles right here. It's the medial down to the lower part of your back. It's a large, massive muscle, and the best way to do it is by pulling something down towards you. So again, compound movement, you're working the same joints. You're working the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. This time, you're bringing your scapulae in versus when you were doing shoulder press, you were moving them out. So you're going to work a large portion of the upper and medial part of your back. Number 4, barbell rowing. This is an old-timey exercise. I've been doing it since I started working out in the early 1970s. Anytime you watch a prison film and the guys are out in the prison yard, they don't have a lot of equipment out there, but they always have a barbell and they're always doing the barbell row with free weights. Why would you do the rowing exercise if you've already done the lat pull? You've already worked the latissimus dorsi. The reason you're doing is that now you're pulling something toward you, right? So you're working the muscle in a different direction, which will give it more girth. Try it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Number 5, squats. That's right, never skip leg day. You ever see these guys in a gym, they have the big bulky upper body, and then you look at their shorts and they look like they have 2 pieces of dental floss hanging down, connecting them to their tennis shoes? You don't want to have that type of body. The lower body is just as important as the upper body. As a matter of fact, I can almost make a point as to say, if you're going to do anything, do leg day. Squats, you're using your lower back, you're using your glutes, you're using your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your calf muscles. It's an all-around great exercise. If you ask any bodybuilder what's the number 1 exercise to add bulk, they would tell you squats. Now for something a little extra, or as we like to say down in Cajun country, lagniappe. Lagniappe is a fancy Cajun word for extra. Here's the deal about number 6. It should have been in the top 5, but then it wouldn't have been a top 5. But there are actually 6, and you should not discount this one as being just, oh, I don't have to do it. It's as important as the other 5. It's a deadlift. The deadlift is very similar to the squat, but you're incorporating even more muscle when you're doing the deadlift. So add the deadlift in as number 6. Always do it on leg day. You're going to use more upper back muscles. And while I'm talking about it, let me mention this. The deadlift and the squat are also working your core. We always think of core as getting on the floor and doing a couple of sit-ups. The core is the whole middle part of your body that connects everything together, and you have to have that core engaged the entire time you're doing deadlifts or squats. Okay, I've given you the top 5 exercises to do to bulk up. But hey, that's not a license to eat poorly. So watch my other videos, the 10 foods you should stop eating immediately and what eating grains is actually doing to your body.